Hello, welcome to the second quarterly update from Think Global Logistics, where I bring you once every quarter what's going on with the world of logistics in terms of pricing and in terms of the capacity and the space situation which all importers and exporters usually goes through. So where are we at today?
Military police have been following Iranian attacks on Israel. Areas of the Golan Heights on President Putin's orders.
Coming into this year, the pricing from most countries or lanes were heading down, and it was heading down fast due to the lackluster demand, due to the economy being in doldrums where nobody seems to have any idea where it's going, including the ones that leads us in every respective economies. What do we do? How do we plan? Where do we get our projections from when our central governments can't even give us any indications, other than the fact that inflation's here, we are paying more for everything from our food to our rents to our mortgages. All of that has an impact on the economy. Since the first quarter, obviously we had the geopolitics going mad. The conflicts in Russia and Ukraine continues, and the tragedy of Gaza and Israel continues. All of that has had an impact operationally as well as pricing wise, especially if you're trading in and out of Europe, and especially true if you are dealing with Asia and Europe, because that lane is the most affected. With all of the geopolitics still uncertain and all the turmoil and chaos that has led to pricing being, let's call it, licorice all sorts. It's being all over the shop. Certain trade lanes, the pricing have remained relatively stable, if we can use that word, simply due to the lack of demand, right? So the pricing remains relatively low. Certain lanes where it's impacted by these geopolitical tensions, the pricings have gone up. They've gone up 3-4 times compared to before the conflict started. With all of that being said, where do we stand today? Think Global Logistics, our home ground is in Australia, so I'm going to be focusing on Australia, and whatever goes on in Australia, it's going to happen with New Zealand, okay? With Australia, our pricing, say out of the main trade, which is China, has hovered around about anywhere between $500 to $1,000 per 20 foot. That remains to be true. However, it is edging up ever so slightly because most of the annual contracts has been signed, sealed and delivered, and by all reports, the annual contracts being signed by the massive importers with the shipping lines directly had one very unique difference to previous years, which was a set rate for the whole year. However, the space allocated to these accounts have been tremendously reduced. What that simply means is that, say, if you're an importer of, say, 10,000 containers, you'll probably only get that annual contract rate that covers maybe 25-30% of your volume, whereas the 70% you need to go to the market and play with the market rates and spots. So what that will create, and that is designed by the carriers, is that a lot of that volume previously were locked with commitments in terms of space and a set rate for the year. The shipping lines want to push a lot of that volume out into the market, causing manufactured or artificial buoyancy in the market because there's all this additional cargo coming into the market, into the spot rate situation, competing for that same space. They're doing that purely because they know that demand is going to be very soft. So they are creating a lot of things that is going to create artificial rises in price. That is one of their strategies, right? Shy of running dry docks of the vessels, cancelling voyages, they will do all of that because they do not want the price to fall lower than what it is now. My personal opinion is that ultimately demand is king. Without demand, doesn't matter what games you play, your price cannot be risen because if your ship's empty, the shipping lines will reduce their rates. Also in 2024, the competition amongst carriers is not what it was back 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? You've only got a few players now. So it's a lot easier for them to control a price. Yes, we know this is probably cartel type of situation, but it happens. You'll be a fool to think that doesn't happen.